folks, it's Zion Hezekiah here, aka Hez. We're recording on Wednesday, October 14th, 2020. You're tuned into Toronto Talk Sports and more. This show is dedicated to the loving memory of Caleb Wynn, who passed away suddenly at the age of 21 just a few short weeks ago. Caleb was my cousin, and may he rest in peace. So guys, for today's show, this is our intro segment, Toronto Talk Sports and More. Welcome once again, those that are tuning in on YouTube and all of our listening platforms. We're gonna be discussing tipping at restaurants. So tipping at restaurants. And interestingly, we were just discussing, shutdowns and stage 2 and this and that in certain regions in Ontario. So of course, restaurants aren't open right now for indoor dining in Toronto and Peel region, as well as in Ottawa. But this topic, honestly, guys, was actually prompted by, I think it was an IG story by our very own contributor, Haley Marshall. I can't remember exactly what it was. I did take a screenshot of it, and her and I had a brief discussion about it. So if I can find it, perhaps we can put it up on the screen. But basically, because she does work in the service industry, and she was not very happy about somebody that left her a very, very small tip. And, she made that known. She posted something in her IG stories. So I guess the question is it okay under any circumstance to either leave, a very small tip or perhaps no tip at all? So we know that persons in the service industry, the restaurants and bars and things of that nature, for the most part, let's say it, they heavily do rely on their tips. Let's even share, guys. Let's talk about our personal experiences as far as, what kind of tipper are you, Justen? What kind of tipper are you, Janelle? And just generally speaking, is it okay to ever leave, perhaps no tip or just a very small tip, perhaps if the service is bad? Janelle, let's begin with you.
I've been working in the industry since I was like 18 years old, but
that's right.
So I know how it feels to receive a no tip or a little tip depending on the service. But I forgot what the abbreviations are for tips again. It's like something of proper service, something. There's the word tip, TIPS, means something. I just forgot what it was. I can't think of it. But anyhow, so I base mine when I tip on my side. It's more like, okay, let me kind of see what service I'm getting. Like regardless, I'm gonna tip you. I'm just that, because I'm in the industry. I get it. I understand. And a lot of these servers and people in the industry, they do rely on the tips because their pay is not that high. Like our hourly is nothing really. So it's more kind of like, okay, what percentage am I going to tip you? So if your service is bad, it could be from like 5 to 10%, but on the regular, my average is actually like 18. It could even go up to like 20. So I'll always tip you. It's just, it depends. Okay, how much am I going to tip you?
And once again, somebody working in the industry who understands and appreciates just how much the tips, are worth in terms of, the value, because a lot of times, the wage that is being paid to the workers isn't really that high. So in turn, you kind of understand that you're a part of that industry. Whenever you dine out or you have the opportunity, you certainly, as you said, 18 to 20%, perhaps more. What about yourself, JW?
Well, a little fact about me is I used to work as a cook for the longest time. So
I did not know, young fella.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I can impress you on a mic with comedy and cook you up a good meal.
The plot thickens.
So
dinner and a show. What?
Dinner and a show. There you go.
My man.
Name of my Netflix special. So, anyways, I always keep in mind for the back of house too, because back of house gets a tip out. So whenever I get a service, let's say worst case scenario, it's like both service, like my waiter or waitress is not the best and the food is poopy, then I'm still going to give you like the minimum 15% tip out kind of deal. That's what I feel is appropriate. But I will go as high as 20, even 25, depending if I have like disposable income for that, essentially. But I always keep in mind for the people who cooked it and who prepped it, because it's usually never just one person. It's usually the morning person who did this who's going to get a tip out for it. It's the person who actually cooked it, and then maybe even the lineman who has to help sweep at the end. So that like $5 you tip out, let's say for instance, that goes to both server, back house, and back house has its own like little subcategories of people. So I tend to tip very well when I can.
My man. Okay, I think we're all on the same page here. I want to share a real quick story. So this was maybe about 3 weeks, maybe 3.5 weeks ago. It was actually the first time that I had an indoor dining experience during, COVID, since everything has kind of unfolded in March. So my best friend, Naomi, who, by the way, she actually does the voice on our outro for the audio portion of our podcast. So shout out to Naomi. So she treated me to dinner at Moxie's. I'm not going to call out the location. There's a bunch of Moxie's all over the GTA. But we went to Moxie's, and there weren't a lot of people in there. There might have been maybe 4 other persons in there. And, our server was literally MIA. Like, usually they'll give you your food and then 5 minutes later, they'll come and check on you. Especially, let's say, for example, you order pasta, usually they'll come back. Hey, do you want some cheese? Do you want the little grinder there, some more salt, some pepper or whatever. There was none of that. Like, we literally had to look around for her. Even when it came time for us to leave, and it's like, okay, we finished our food. We had our little, we were talking and whatever the case. We're there waiting for 10 minutes. We actually had to get up and hunt her down. So it just was not good service. And as I said, she was treating me. So I usually always treat, but she wanted to take me out. Once again, thank you, Naomi. And so she didn't leave. I think she left, honestly, guys, a very small, a 5 cents or a 10 cents tip, which obviously what that means. There's a principle or a point behind that. That we were just not happy at all with the service. And I'll be honest, I've actually done that as well myself. I'm not necessarily with you, Justen, in terms of everybody automatically deserves 15%. But I will tell you this, on the flip side, I've been known to tip as high as even 50%. I'm a very, very generous man. I'm not patting myself in the back. That's just who I am. So I will tip, and I will tip very generously. I'll even go as far as to I'm one of those guys that will, write a nice letter on the napkin or a piece of paper if there's one handy. And I'm not shy to tip, but if the service is not good, yeah. But if the service isn't good, I'm sorry, you ain't getting much, and you're gonna know it.
Oh my God, it's either getting started or traded. That's the only thing with you.
Exactly.
Oh man. Any other thoughts, guys, before we wind down?
Yeah, just always tip your server and waitress.
Just
always have good service.
Even if it's $1, $2,
So
at least they'll know, okay, my service has been there's something wrong.
Exactly. But
there's a lot of people who are actually really passionate in the industry, and they really give really, really good service, and they don't get tipped that well. They don't get how much they're actually supposed to be deserved. I feel they're deserved.
Yeah, I was gonna
Let me ask you this, though, Janelle, real quick. Doesn't it kind of balance out where even if you do have 1 or 2 people who, let's say you do give them good service, and for whatever reason, they're not very good or generous tippers, maybe they might give 5% or whatever it is. Doesn't it kind of balance out at the end of the shift, because you'll have persons that will go above and beyond, once again, 20%, perhaps even more. So for the most part, don't you find that it kind of evens out?
No, it depends. Each day is different, I find. Even because I worked on weekends before, and each weekend, sometimes you get a really good crowd, sometimes you don't. But it just depends. It's not guaranteed. It's not like every day.
Sure. So let me ask you this as a quick follow-up. Let's say, for example, you're starting off your shift, and your first 3 or 4 people that you serve, they give either no tip or very small tip. Does that kind of not just you personally, but generally, I don't know if you've seen this before from maybe fellow coworkers, do you find that could kind of discourage the server, and then maybe they're not going to necessarily give the best service?
It does, because I'll remember the no tippers and be like, okay, I'm going to serve your ass last. I remember, don't get me wrong. Especially
you guys are vindictive.
Yeah, no, we know we're not dumb, especially if we're been in the industry for so long. And then especially if we're going to people who do tip really well, I'm going to go serve them first. Because I know how much they're going to give me, and I'm going to get tipped really well compared to someone who didn't tip. That makes no sense.
For sure.
And then
I think the moral of this is for those that are serving, give the best service, go all out 100%. And for the rest of us who are, dining, you're in a bar, whatever, you're a patron, you're a customer, I think we all agree, a minimum 15% should be the standard. And if you feel compelled to go over and above, then, do your thing. Guys, thank you so much for chiming in. We'll actually put this up online. It'd be good to get other person's perspectives on this topic. I'm sure everybody's had an experience, one on one side or the other. So thanks so much. So this is what we have coming up on today's show. Coming up next, we have a featured interview with former NFL player and motivational speaker, Mr. Carl Mecklenburg. So looking forward to sitting down and chatting with Carl. After that, we'll have our NBA roundtable discussing my Los Angeles Lakers. Guys, this doesn't happen very often, but I'm going to do y'all a solid, or maybe not, and sing right here on Toronto Talk Sports and More. Here we go. We are the champions. We are the champions. We are the champions. We are the champs. So it would be very interesting to know how many viewers did we just lose by me singing, because I'm the worst singer in the history of the world. But guess what?
That's amazing.
I need someone to auto-tune that.
My T1, we are the champions. So we'll be talking about the NBA Finals, the Lakers winning it all in our NBA segment. And to round off our show for our And More segment, we'll have comedian Joel Byers will be joining us. So definitely looking forward to that. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. Toronto Talk Sports and more.
And more.
Thank you for watching. Please click the like button and leave us a comment with your feedback. And don't forget to subscribe with notifications to see more engaging and interactive content. Toronto Talk Sports and More. For the love of the six, let's connect.